All right. It is, as I said before, so good to be here. And I love when I get an opportunity to come out and speak. And I love my very favorite place, which is in the classroom with the boys and girls. And when I was thinking about my talk, I thought, well, it's past Valentine's Day, so I really can't throw that in. That's like old news. But actually, I have actually left something off my title. And what I have left off is love at first sight. Now, of course, when you hear that statement, your first place you run to, at least most people, is that person that walks in the door and you look at them and go, oh my God, that's it. That's the person that's there to make me who I need to be. There's just something about them. I don't know what it is. I don't know their name. I really don't care. I just know that that's it. Name could be Hermanmeister or something. But that it is it. Now that's only one little aspect of love at first sight. Have you ever gone house shopping? You ever done? Somebody's got to have done that. Apartment shopping, you go do that too, right? You have to have a place to live. Well, you walk into what is the absolutely perfect home. I love it. I love everything about it. It is gorgeous. It's exactly what I want. Love at first sight. Wow, this is it. I did that with my house when Bob and I bought our first house together. And I fell in love with the kitchen. And the kitchen was done, the house was built in 1963, so there it gives you a little picture. And the kitchen had been remodeled, and it had a little island or little side that went this way, and then the window, and then the sink, and over here on this side was the stove and the thing. Well, what I fell in love with was the red brick. The counters were honest to God red brick. I thought, well, that's really different. I've never seen anything like that. And then the archway that held up the cabinets over the counter had this arch of red brick and mortar, rough hewn mortar, right? And I thought, oh, honey, I love this kitchen. We just have to get this house. So Bob said, okay, if that's what you want. So we put a bid in, and of course we got the house. Moved in, did all that, and then it was just Bob and I. We didn't have our kids yet. And as the days and the weeks went on, I discovered red brick is not a good countertop. They had laid resin on this countertop, guys. And it was kind of, it was kind of a little yellowy, you know. And I'm thinking, why in God's name did I not see that? Why didn't I see that part of it? And then I made the error of laying a hot pan on the countertop. Guess what happened? All the way across the countertop. So now I have this shattered resin on top of my counter. And lo and behold, that this wonderful, gorgeous, country kind of feel arch, you can't clean. Not even with a wire brush. So as the time went on and the year went on, the unhappier I got with the kitchen. And Bob said, well, the only thing we can do is remodel it, but you got to wait a year. Can't do it now. Okay. So how many times have we done that to ourselves with a significant other or someone else in our life that walks in the door and we go, oh, this is it. And you put on the blinders. Like you put on your dark sunglasses and you don't look anymore. Okay. There's other places we do that. Have you ever done that when you bought a car? Oh, yeah. The perfect car. I owned a Gremlin. Anybody ever own a Gremlin? Yeah, it's like red brick. You'd think I'd learn, right? It's like red brick. But I had this green Gremlin that we bought. And it was green. And the quick little story about that is it was a great car. You know, it was a good car. But it had this hatchback, you know, in the back. And you had to be a superhuman person to get this hatchback up. And it does not have, and then of course and then I had my little daughter, and of course you had the stroller and the diaper bag and the purse and everything else in the back, right? Kid in the car seat. And I thought, okay, I got to put everything away now, and slam the lid down, or the hatchback down. Oh God, my keys are in the car. The car is locked, the baby's in the car seat. Oh no. And I'm in the shopping mall. Now what do I do? There again, that love at first sight. There was no place to put a hide key in the gremlin. So, but I got that solved. They came and unlocked the door for me. My poor little daughter's sitting there like, well, come on, let me out, let me out. I don't know, I think she was about 9 months old. But again, that's love at first sight. Thought that car was great. Not so great. And now, for me, I've gone through another place for love at first sight is careers. Did you ever see somebody that had a career that you thought, man, that's the career for me? I want to do that. I want to either a nurse, doctor, whatever, whatever it is, because there's just a multitude of careers that you can be in, right? And my career when I was growing up, my mother tells me from the time I was about 3 that my career was going to be a mommy and a housewife. That was my career. That's what I wanted. That's all I talked about. High school, I took home economics, all that kind of stuff. Secretary stuff, no, not going to do that. None of that stuff. I just wanted to be a homemaker, and I wanted to raise kids, and that was what I wanted. So the closest thing I could get to hitting that before I got married was to be a preschool teacher. Well, that was pretty close, with kids and teaching and stuff. And realizing as time went on that your career is you. It has lots of faces, has lots of changes, has lots of evolution, but it's you. It doesn't matter whether you're a doctor, a nurse, a horse trainer, or my grandson, he's a dragon trainer. Doesn't matter. He loves dragons. He's a dragon trainer. And so the careers are love at first sight. I just thought I would love being a preschool teacher. Well, I did. I really liked it. It was lots of fun. But I didn't start out as a preschool teacher. I got to wash dishes. That's what I got to do. And I got to put cots away, and I got to watch playground, and that was what I got to do to start with. And then it wasn't looking so great. I really want to do something else. And the evolution of the job changed, and I got at higher up, and I actually became a licensed teacher and all that kind of stuff. And then my family started, and I got to be the mom and all of that. And that continued to change. But every time I found something that I loved to do, I loved it. The first sight was I loved it. One of the great things about Science of Mind is when I started in Science of Mind in 1971 and took the classes, and take all the classes and everything else you start with. And as I was working on sharing this with you, I couldn't find, believe it or not, I could not find a quote by Ernest Holmes that described what that did for me. So I thought, well, maybe I have to make my own quote up. Maybe that's what I'll do. But as I was standing here during the meditation at the end, the 3 pictures on the back, I don't know if people even notice that. We have Emerson and Hopkins, and we have Ernest Holmes back there. And I can imagine that their careers took all kinds of levels and all kinds of things. But everything that they saw, and everything that they saw at first sight, was a love they couldn't put a name to, that strived them and moved them forward. So my quote for today, it actually isn't a quote, it's just kind of the title all mushed together, is love at first sight has 3 levels. It has God sight, heart sight, and soul sight. That's the part of it. The part that is the most intricate part of it, and the one that has the greatest impact on us, is the heart sight. If you look at God's sight, if you can Imagine when we were talking about the river, when it was crystal clear. You could see everything. The essence and the trueness of what everything is. God's side is like that. It is the knowingness, the love, compassion, all of those different things that make you who you are in how you feel about the connection you have with God. Or whatever word you use that brings that to a point of passion within your life that it's necessary to have. Once we started at the center in, I think wasn't West Hills, it was in Canova Park. I just fell in love with all the classes. I fell in love with what it was saying. I fell in love with, I didn't know anything like this existed. And it helped me formulate what God means to me and what that is. And it's different for everybody. Reason being it's different for everybody because we're all unique individuals. I don't think for you and you don't think for me. So there's no way that you can I can look at Reverend Maggie and go, oh, I know exactly how she feels about God. I know exactly how she feels. No, I don't. No. There isn't anybody that knows how Reverend Maggie feels. Only Reverend Maggie knows that. And only Steve knows that. Nobody else does. And sometimes you can't find words to describe what that is. So God's side is kind of an always ever-changing, non-changing thing. Changes all the time. The best way to describe the change within the changeless is that if you walked into a room and somebody gave you 3 glasses, you put them on the tabletop, and they were all filled with water, and you had your choice. You could have iced tea, lemonade, Crystal Light has all kinds of flavors, raspberry lemonade, all kinds of flavors. And you could have, and that you take the water and then you add whatever those ingredients are to your liking. Now, did you change the water? Nope, stayed the same. It's still water, but it appears different and it has a different taste. God's like that. We're all just clear water. And we pour into ourselves those things that relate to us, that are important to us, that mean something to us. And that's how we picture what God is for us. Individually, very individual. So you can't do much changing with that. The other one, the heart sight, which is the second one, we're going to go into a little bit more detail about that. And then there's soul sight. Well, everybody's unique. So our soul would be unique to us, right? All those things. Well, Dr. Dennis Merritt Jones wrote a book called Speaking Religious Science, although I think it's a different title now. But this is what he says about the soul. The soul is that perfect part of our being which accepts us and our actions, never judging us right or wrong, always ready to assist us in achieving whatever we want to do and believe we can do it. The soul has been referred to as the mirror of the mind because it reflects the forms of thought which are given to it. So, soul sight is the culmination of all kinds of things that we experience, our thoughts, our feelings, our reactions, our emotions, all those things are in there. And it would be really nice if we had the opportunity to maybe do a workshop. You ever do a workshop all by yourself? Be fun. You could take all those little Post-it papers and stick them all on the walls. You know? Have to be a pretty long wall in my belt. Long hallway. And you had a pen, very magic pen. And you could, on all these pieces of paper, go around the room and take away all of those things that you've experienced that made you who you are. If you had a bad experience when you were a teenager, if you had a childhood that wasn't the greatest thing in the whole wide world, and you wanted to take that away, and you wanted to you had a job that sucked and you didn't like it and you wanted to take that away, and all these different things. You just want to take all those away. And this pen will let you do that. It will let you go around and mark and erase all of that stuff. And it would simply be gone, like you never experienced it. Now, you look like Swiss cheese. You have all these holes. What are you going to fill it with? Do you get to go back when you were a child and make it different? Do you get to take away some of those things that you wish you could? But see, that's the trick of the pen. The pen says, sure, you can write it up there, and it'll be gone. But then, what are you going to do about filling the spaces? Well, you know, we all have that right. We all have that freedom of choice to do that. You can do that. You do have a pen like that. Anybody have a pen in their pocket that they have that? You have that pen. That pen is your mind. Your conscious thinking mind. And of course, the first thing your conscious thinking mind thinks is thoughts. This is where heart sight comes in. In order to appreciate the deeper sense of love at first sight, or first sight, we have to uncover and reclaim the importance of first sight, which is what we're going to do through heart sight. And I shared the different elements with you, which was the 3. Heart sight is where we are going to focus, and the focus is because that's where the largest impact of our life occurs. That's what makes all the changes. It takes our thoughts, it takes our words, it takes our actions, our reactions. Any of those things that occur in our life, those are the things that slide down into that soul self. That's what goes there. And we can change what goes there. We can't erase it, but we can certainly develop a new perspective for it or about it, so that it doesn't have an impact on today. And a lot of things that happen is in our heart sight is we become lives sometimes of routine and habits. How many have habits? I don't see every hand up. I'm going to come talk to you and find out how you do it. Habits and routines. I don't know, has anybody ever had the experience, like on a Saturday, when I'm out running errands and stuff for me? When I'm out running errands and stuff for myself, do you know, lo and behold, I end up in this parking lot? Now, I did not say when I got in the car that I was going to church or going to the center. I didn't say that. But the car brought me here. So I decided at the moment, I said, well, I guess my car has its own mind. So I can just put it in work, and away it goes. And then I have to reflect when I get to the parking lot going, how in the world did I get here? I could swear I was going to Target. And it's on Cochrane. It's not here. Yet, it happens. That's what you call habit. You don't think about it. It just happens. Why does it just happen? Maybe because I forgot to wake up my consciousness when I got out of bed in the morning. And I strictly lived by subconscious. And it always comes to work. Or it's always at work. That's one of the things. Have you ever had an experience where your routine and your habits have been interrupted? Anybody around for the 1994 earthquake? Anybody around for that? It was kind of a strange experience because we live in Simi and the largest portion of it was in Northridge where our business was. And here it was just, minor messes. It wasn't too terribly drastic for our house. I know some people's it was awful. But the fact that our routine, I think it was a Tuesday, if I'm remembering correctly. I think it was a Tuesday. Oh, it was a Monday? See? Yeah, like 4 in the morning or something. And all these disruptions started happening. It started interrupting everybody's routines and things like that. And of course, the first place you think is once you know your immediate family is safe, you start thinking about everybody else and do they need assistance and all this other kind of stuff. My parents lived in a mobile home, so that was our first concern. And our second concern, my daughter will kill me if she ever sees this. But anyway, our second concern was finding our daughter. She was, Brandy was, I think, like 14. And of course, we run into Casey's room to make sure she's okay, and then we run into Brandy's, and there's no Brandy. I go, oh my God, where is she? And God knows what it's doing. It really does. And so it's like my brain's going, where in the Bible could she possibly be? And Bob is like, she is not here. Oh no. And I said, well, I think I know where she's at. So we got the dogs and Casey and everything in the car, and we went over to this apartment building. And Brandy is standing with this whole group of people out there. She had a very best friend that was having some challenges that came over to the house, tapped on her window at about 3:30 in the morning, and said, oh, Brandy, please listen, I need some help, I need some, and that's my daughter, she loves to be there for people. And so Brandy didn't want her to walk home by herself, so she walked her home, 4 in the morning. And of course, then the earthquake hit, her mother wouldn't let Brandy leave. And of course, the phones weren't working, so we couldn't get a hold of her. And so all of these other things started occurring. And the point of this particular part of the story is when your routine is interrupted and your habits are changed, you look back and go, what is the first sight about that? What did I see about that in the very beginning? And you don't see it then. You go back in your mind and go back, oh, well, this happened, and I'm really glad it happened. And if Brandy had been in her bed, she'd have been smashed by bookcases that were full of books if she had been in her bed. So, like I said, God works in absolutely wonderful ways and keeps you where you need to be. And that was a lesson that we came back to much later, after being the furious parents and all that other kind of stuff. That's what we came back later. But again, it was the sight, where you had to go back and go, okay, that was the first thing that I thought of. That was the first reaction, the first emotion, because it broke my habit, it broke my routine, and I had to regain all of that. And when we come to a place where we're so complacent about how we think about the things that we do and take them for granted, that it's amazing. And sometimes it's really good to be shook up a little bit so you can decide whether those routines and those habits are valuable for you and whether they're necessary. So that's one of the ways we have to look at it. There's a quote that I found. It's by Carlos Zafon, and it's about books. And I liked the quote. I liked what it had to say, and then I kind of refocused it. So I'm going to read the quote and then bring it to where it relates to the heart side. He says, every book, every volume you see here has a soul. The soul of the person who wrote it and those who read it and lived and dreamed with it. Every time a book changes hands, every time someone runs his eyes down its page, its spirit grows and strengthens. I just really liked that. And I believe that's really true about a book. I mean, Ernest Holmes and Irma Curtis Hopkins and Emerson, they're constantly changing people's lives. So I refocused it to kind of sit in with what we're doing. Every person you see has a soul. The soul of each person who lives, moves, and interacts with anyone hears each other's stories, hopes, and dreams and desires. And in some small way, we're influenced by them. Every time someone shares something from that exchange, every person along the way, their spirit grows and strengthens. So nothing is ever forgotten. Everything changes. Last week, I don't know how many of you people stayed for the town hall meeting that we did last week. And how many stayed? And we did you did. I didn't get to participate. I was so sad. You did the labyrinth walk. And I kind of get to have that experience all the time because I'm running here and there doing things around the center. But I try at least once a day to consciously walk through the center. In the sanctuary, the classrooms, every part of the center. And the purpose of doing that is so I remember. I remember the people that aren't here anymore, that have gone to other centers or moved or whatever, those that have made their transitions. This is a building, and it has chairs, and it has walls, and it has activities that happen here. But you know what? It wouldn't happen if everybody wasn't here. If all the people weren't here, all the energy that's left behind. And the memories, sometimes the memories are sad, sometimes the memories are disgruntled, sometimes they're like that. And when those kind of memories come up, it's the opportunity to say, what is my heart saying? What is it telling me? What do I need to change? Or is there something I need to change? Does something need revealed for me that I can heal? That I can put a greater sense of love and energy and compassion in my life? What are some of those things? When we walk in, I know it wasn't the easiest thing in the world for me to walk back in here when Bob died. That wasn't easy. That was a very difficult thing for me. Yet, almost 5 years later, I can look at each and every quality that I know he helped create here is still here. Just like when you read a book and you pass it on to someone else, and you live those kinds of things. You enhance their dreams as they enhance yours. That kind of stuff. It's so important that when we have to walk through a memory, go down memory lane, wish we had that pen that we could erase those things we don't want to keep. There's a special place, Lauren Rosenberg, I think it's Rosenberg, yeah, wrote the book, The Breathing Room. And the breathing room is about clutter, about cleaning out your clutter. Not necessarily just stuff, but it's your mind and your spirit too. And she wrote this about sacred space for your heart. She said, the heart is often a forgotten sacred space. The heart is meant to be touched by joy, laughter, happiness, and innocence. Often it carries with it burdens, anxieties, fears, worries. A heart can be where love resides, and ease, forgiveness flows like fresh air, and gratitude is a constant residence. And I thought, wow, that's so important to have, because the heart sight is what impacts us greatly. And she also said that there's the words that she said that was important to create that sacred space was compassion, sustainable emotions. You know how hard it is to stay angry and mad and disgruntled about something? That takes so much energy. It really does. And it takes up that space where love and joy and happiness can sit. And she also says, accept who we are. Every wrinkle, every gray hair, every time you go to your closet and you try on a pair of pants and go, oh, these don't fit anymore. But it's really fun to go to your closet and go, wow, these fit. This is great, they're too big. You know, that kind of thing too. Those kind of things. Compassion with yourself. Stay true to your heart sight. And this is one of the things, and I thought was the most important part about sharing this with you today, is that we spend a lot of time with self-talk. We're constantly talking to ourselves. And sometimes the talk has a different voice. You ever had your mother's voice in your head? Did you ever have your piano teacher in your head? Or your math teacher in your head that tells you you're so stupid you're never going to get it? You know, did you ever have any of those things in your head? And what you hear is that person, but what your heart hears is you. That's what it hears. It doesn't hear that other person. It doesn't even know that other person exists. And Mahatma Gandhi, she talks about in her book, Mahatma Gandhi has advice he gives to his students. And this is the advice that he gives. And I know he's talking about, with his students, he's talking about when they converse and interchange with other people. Well, I'd like you to look at it as interchanging and having conversations with yourself. That's where I kind of want you to put it. All right. He advised his students, speak only after your words have managed to issue through 3 gates. Gate number 1. At the first gate, ask yourself, are these words true? If so, let them pass. If not, back they go. How many times have we spent, is this true about me? Is this really who I am? At the second gate, ask, are they kind? If we still feel we must speak them out, we need to choose words that are supporting and loving. Everybody should have a little journal that has supporting and loving words they can read to themselves. Because sometimes we forget that. And the third gate, ask yourself, are they necessary? They may be true. They may be kind. Is it necessary to speak them aloud? I have the lovely habit of talking to myself out loud. Dr. Jim used to say, are you talking to me? No. My husband used to say that too. Are you talking to me? No, if I was, I'd tell you. No, I'm talking to me. And when we think them, we hear them. But boy, when you put them out loud about yourself, the impact is just tremendous. And if you have to speak them out loud, make sure they are meaningful and have a purpose. This is the premise I thought of, such great information, such great inspiration to know that when we spend time talking to ourselves, which is constantly we're talking to ourselves. Even when, now get this, imagine that this room was empty and the walls were just mirrors all the way around you, just mirrors. And you're in the middle. You're in the middle of the room and that's all you can see is just mirrors. And you're having a heated discussion with something your neighbor said, or something your husband said, or something your wife said, or something somebody said that really set you off. And you're just going 90 miles a minute. And guess what? The only thing that hears you is you. There isn't anybody out there because they're all mirrors. There's nothing beyond that. Mind doesn't know that you're having a discussion with someone else. So, to appreciate and to honor the things that we say and we do and we feel, if we can say them to ourselves about ourselves, then that's the first thing we think, say, and do to anyone else. To anyone else in our life. And the times you drive down the road and there's somebody slow in front of you and you start thinking these things, see if you can switch that around and say, when did I drive slow in front of somebody? You know, looking for an address. Not knowing you're impacting 7 cars behind you, right? When did I do that? And if you remember at the times when you did, guess what? You won't be frustrated with that person in front of you. Because there's something going on in them that they need that slowness for some reason. And we can't judge what that happens to be. Okay. We want to open each moment by our habits and routines and do it with God's sight, heart sight, and soul sight. Soul sight doesn't ever change. God's sight is always changing, but not changing. It's growing, it's expanding. It's being more and more and more each and every day of who we are. It's constantly changing. So, love at first sight is a wonderful thing, and it's possible too, with another person, with a home, with a car, with anything. It's possible. But the greatest thing to remember is that we can do this on a day-to-day basis. When you wake up each morning and you open your eyes, look with first sight. And what do you see? A beautiful day, another opportunity to make a difference for yourself and for the world. And sometime during the day, appreciate what's going on. Appreciate it. Like yesterday, man, we were all, the ladies, the men, everybody was appreciated yesterday. At least everybody that I've come in contact with and know. And it was just a lovely day. To say, you go to a restaurant and everybody says, Happy Valentine's Day. Got my nails done. Lady said, Happy Valentine's Day. And I said, well, Happy Valentine's Day to you too. And the lady that does my nails, she's Vietnamese. And one of her, I don't know whether it was her client or someone else's, came up and wanted to give her a hug. And she sat back down and she says, oh my God. I said, well, what's the matter? She said, I don't hug people. It's not me. Well, it wasn't her culture, to do that kind of thing. And she said, I just don't know what to do. I said, well, you did a great job of accepting it. And I'm sure you honored her by accepting that hug. She goes, oh, I hadn't thought about that, but I guess I did. So, and I said, and there's nothing to say you have to go hug anybody else either, if that's not who you are. Handshake, or just how are you, or I'm glad to meet you, those kinds of things. Appreciation during the day. Appreciate what you have and who you have and the things that you can make a difference with. And the last thing before you close your eyes at night, if you can remember to be grateful. Just be grateful for what you got to experience today. Did you get to experience a little bit of love? Did you get to experience some kind words for yourself? Did you get to have the opportunity to smile at somebody that you didn't know because you may have changed their whole world with that simple smile? Did you get the opportunity to hold a door open for somebody that had their arms full of something? Or wiggle your hands and giggle at a little kid? Did you ever get that? Have that opportunity? Think back on your day. You could probably fill a page with all those different things that you've done, that you've made a difference. And as you make a difference for other people, that difference resides from you because you created it. You made the difference. So when you do that, you have used all three elements: God sight, heart sight, and soul sight. Heart sight, we have the opportunity to make it grow and grow and grow. Be more and more of who you are each and every day. And I'm honored and loved and blessed that you're here sharing this morning and this moment with me. Namaste.